The vast emptiness of space held many secrets, but none would prove as dangerous as the small blue planet the Empire's scout ships discovered in the outer rim of the Orion Arm. The Imperial scout vessel Starseeker had been conducting routine border patrol when their sensors detected unusual energy signatures from a previously unmarked solar system. Captain Robert of the Starseeker watched the holographic display with mild interest. His species, like most in the Empire, had evolved past the need for complex names. The readings showed rapidly increasing energy outputs from the third planet of this unremarkable yellow star. "Another primitive civilization," he muttered, his scaled fingers tapping against the command chair. "Log it and move on." But his science officer, Officer Tom, hesitated. "Sir, these readings are unusual. The energy signature has increased by 300% in just the last 50 years. That's unprecedented growth." Robert's attention snapped back to the display. The Empire had conquered thousands of worlds, and none had shown such rapid technological advancement. Most species took thousands of years to progress from primitive technology to spacefaring capability. These beings, whoever they were advancing at an alarming rate. "Full scan of the system," Robert ordered, his professional curiosity now fully engaged. "I want to know everything about these creatures." The results that came back over the next few hours left the crew in stunned silence. The beings, who called themselves humans, had gone from primitive combustion engines to rudimentary space travel in less than a century. They had already visited their moon, placed numerous satellites in orbit, and were planning missions to their neighboring planet. More concerning were the weapons. These humans had developed nuclear technology, and instead of destroying themselves as most species did upon discovering such power, they had controlled it. They had thousands of these weapons, enough to destroy their own world many times over, yet they maintained an uneasy peace through something they called mutually assured destruction. "They're insane," Officer Mary whispered, looking at the cultural data. "They fight wars constantly, yet they advance faster because of them. Their entire history is written in conflict and bloodshed." Robert felt a chill run down his spine. In the Empire's experience, species that developed through constant warfare either destroyed themselves or became too dangerous to exist. These humans seemed to be heading toward the latter category. He made his decision. Send a priority message to Imperial Command. Mark it urgent. 3 days later, the Imperial Council convened an emergency session. The data from the Starseeker had caused significant concern among the Empire's leadership. These humans were advancing too quickly, and their warlike nature made them a potential threat. "We must act now," declared High Counselor James, his voice echoing through the Grand Chamber, "while they are still confined to their solar system. Once they develop faster than light travel, they could become a serious problem." The Council agreed unanimously. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years by eliminating potential threats before they could fully emerge. These humans would be no different. A fleet was assembled. 50 ships of the line, including 3 planet crackers, ships capable of destroying entire worlds. It was overkill for such a primitive species, but the Empire believed in overwhelming force as a matter of principle. As the fleet prepared to depart, Robert watched from his observation post on the Imperial capital. He had been promoted for his discovery, but something bothered him about this mission. In all his years of service, he had never seen the Empire react so strongly to a pre-FTL civilization. "The humans will never know what hit them," said his colleague, watching the massive ships power up their drives. Robert wasn't so sure. Something about the humans' rapid advancement and their ability to thrive in constant conflict made him uneasy. The Empire had never encountered a species quite like them before. As the fleet disappeared into hyperspace, Robert couldn't shake the feeling that they were making a terrible mistake. The Empire had always won its wars through superior technology and overwhelming force. But these humans, they seemed to have a knack for surviving against impossible odds. Only time would tell if the Empire's standard approach would work against this unusual species. But for the first time in his long career, Robert found himself hoping that the Empire's mighty fleet would exercise caution. Something told him these humans wouldn't go down without a fight. The Imperial diplomatic vessel Peacebearer emerged from hyperspace just beyond Earth's moon, its massive hull gleaming under the distant sunlight. Commander Jack of the Imperial Diplomatic Corps stood on the bridge, watching the blue planet with calculated interest. Their plan was simple: offer peace while positioning their fleet for a swift conquest. "Send the greeting message," he ordered. "Let's see how these primitives respond." To the Empire's surprise, Earth's response came quickly and in perfect Imperial Standard language. The humans requested a meeting at their International Space Station, a primitive but functional orbital platform. This immediate reply in the Empire's own language was the first warning sign that something wasn't quite right. "They shouldn't be able to translate our language this quickly," muttered Science Officer Lisa, frowning at her displays. "Unless—" Commander Jack ignored her concerns. The Empire's superiority was absolute, or so he believed. "Prepare my shuttle. Let's give these humans their first and last taste of Imperial diplomacy." The Imperial shuttle approached the space station, its sleek design contrasting sharply with the angular human construction. As they drew closer, their sensors detected something odd. The station's power readings were significantly higher than expected for such a seemingly primitive structure. Inside the station, General Mike of Earth's United Defense Force waited with his team. Years of studying crashed alien ships had prepared humanity for this moment. They knew the Empire's technology, their languages, and most importantly, their tactics. The Imperial delegation entered the station's meeting room, their ornate uniforms designed to intimidate. Commander Jack started his rehearsed speech about peace and prosperity under Imperial rule, but General Mike's attention was focused elsewhere. The neural scanner hidden in his uniform was detecting the weapons concealed within the Imperial's ceremonial staffs. "Very impressive offer," General Mike interrupted smoothly. "But before we continue, perhaps you'd like to explain the fleet of warships hiding behind Jupiter." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Commander Jack's false smile vanished. "How did you know?" General Mike finished. "The same way we know about the particle beam weapons in your staffs and the planet crackers in your fleet. We've been watching you for longer than you think." The Empire's carefully crafted plan was unraveling. Their hidden fleet had been detected despite their best stealth technology. Worse, these supposedly primitive humans had somehow acquired advanced scanning capabilities. Commander Jack's demeanor changed instantly. "Then we can dispense with the charade. Submit to Imperial rule, or we will destroy your civilization." To his surprise, General Mike laughed. "Look outside," he said, gesturing to the station's viewport. Surrounding the station were dozens of previously invisible human warships, their stealth systems deactivating to reveal vessels that bore striking similarities to Imperial design. Years of reverse engineering crashed scout ships had given humanity a significant technological boost. "This is impossible," Commander Jack whispered. "You're pre-FTL primitives." "We let you think that," General Mike replied. "Just like we let you think your stealth ships were undetectable. Here's our counteroffer. Leave our solar system and never return." The Imperial delegation retreated to their shuttle in barely concealed panic. As they docked with their diplomatic vessel, emergency signals were already being sent to the main fleet. The humans had to be eliminated immediately before they could reveal more surprises. But as the Imperial fleet began its approach, Earth's defense grid activated. Thousands of satellites transformed into weapon platforms, and hidden bases on the Moon and Mars revealed themselves. Commander Jack watched in horror as his supposedly superior forces found themselves surrounded. The humans hadn't just been preparing for first contact. They'd been preparing for war. "You should have taken our warning seriously." General Mike's voice came through on all Imperial frequencies. "This is your last chance to retreat." The Empire had made a critical mistake. They had assumed technological advancement would follow their understood patterns. They hadn't considered that a species might discover their technology early and prepare in secret. As the Imperial fleet scrambled to regroup, one thing became clear. The easy conquest they had planned was about to become the fight of their lives. And humanity, far from being the primitive civilization they'd expected, was more than ready for the challenge. The real war was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The red dust of Mars swirled beneath the massive Imperial warships as they positioned themselves for what they thought would be a quick and decisive battle. Admiral Frank of the Imperial fleet stood confidently on his flagship's bridge, watching tactical displays show his forces spreading out in textbook formation. "Launch the first wave," he commanded. "Show these upstart humans the true might of the Empire." The Imperial ships unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, their beams cutting through the thin Martian atmosphere. But something strange happened. Most of the shots passed harmlessly through their targets. "Holograms," someone shouted. "They're all holograms." Before the Imperial fleet could regroup, the real human ships decloaked behind and below them, appearing from what seemed to be empty space. The humans had used the Empire's own arrogance against them, knowing they would attack the most obvious targets first. Multiple ships emerging from Mars's surface. The sensor officer screamed. They were hiding in the ground. Underground bases, built years ago in preparation for this day, opened like massive doors in the Martian soil. Human vessels, smaller but more numerous than their Imperial counterparts, swarmed out like angry bees from disturbed hives. The battle that followed defied all Imperial military doctrine. The human ships didn't maintain formation. They broke into small groups, attacking from seemingly random vectors. Their weapons were crude by Imperial standards, but devastatingly effective. They fired projectiles that, while primitive, moved at speeds that made them nearly impossible to track. "How are they predicting our shield frequencies?" Admiral Frank demanded as another Imperial cruiser exploded. The humans seemed to know exactly when and where their defensive shields would be weakest. The answer came too late. Hidden among the debris of destroyed ships were thousands of tiny probes, analyzing and adapting to Imperial technology in real time. The humans weren't just fighting. They were learning, evolving their tactics with each passing moment. "Sir, they're using our own communication frequencies to coordinate their attacks." The communication officer's voice cracked with disbelief. They'd broken all our encryption. Earth's forces had studied the Imperial technology recovered from crashed ships for decades. They knew every weakness, every flaw in the Empire's supposedly superior systems. But more importantly, they understood something the Empire had forgotten over millennia of easy victories: the art of adaptation. A massive explosion rocked the flagship as a human missile slipped through their defenses. Admiral Frank watched in horror as his tactical display showed more Imperial ships falling. The humans weren't just surviving. They were winning. "They're hurting us." The tactical officer realized too late. The seemingly chaotic human attacks had actually been driving the Imperial fleet into a carefully prepared kill zone. From the surface of Phobos, Mars's larger moon, enormous rail guns revealed themselves. Each one fired projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed, their kinetic energy alone enough to tear through Imperial shields like paper. "Full retreat," Admiral Frank ordered, finally accepting that this primitive species had outmaneuvered them completely. "Get us out of this system." But the humans weren't finished. As the Imperial ships tried to flee, they discovered that their hyperspace drives weren't responding. The humans had somehow seeded the entire area with interdiction fields, technology the Empire thought they couldn't possibly possess. "How?" Admiral Frank whispered as he watched half his fleet burn. "How did they advance so far without us knowing?" The answer was simple. Humanity had learned early on that appearing weak while preparing for war was far more advantageous than displaying strength. They had hidden their true capabilities, letting the Empire underestimate them until it was too late. As the remnants of the Imperial fleet finally managed to escape, they left behind more than just destroyed ships. They left behind their aura of invincibility. The Empire had suffered its first major defeat in centuries, and to a species they had dismissed as primitive. Back on Earth, in the underground command center, General Mike watched the Imperial ships flee. "Send the message," he ordered. "Let the Empire know. This was just a taste of what humanity can do when threatened." The Battle of Mars would become known throughout the galaxy as the day everything changed. The Empire had made a crucial mistake. They had judged humanity by their apparent technology level, not by their potential for warfare. It was a mistake they would continue to regret as the war escalated. The Imperial border outpost, Starhold 7, stood as a testament to the Empire's might, until the day it vanished. Not destroyed, not conquered, but simply disappeared. The same happened to 3 more outposts within a week. The Empire's military command was baffled. Their mighty stations, each housing thousands of troops, had been plucked from space without a trace. Unknown to them, humanity had perfected something far more terrifying than mere weapons. They had mastered the art of mobile warfare in space. Deep in the void between stars, hidden beneath layers of stealth technology, the human carrier Vengeance moved silently through Imperial territory. Inside its massive hull, the stolen outposts sat intact, their Imperial crews in stasis. The humans hadn't destroyed them. They had stolen them whole, using massive gravity manipulators to fold space around the stations. "Another target acquired," reported Captain Bill, studying the holographic display on the Vengeance's bridge. "Imperial supply depot. Minimal defenses." The human fleet had split into dozens of small strike groups, each operating independently. They didn't try to hold territory or engage in traditional space battles. Instead, they struck from nowhere, disappeared with their prizes, and left the Empire chasing shadows. The Imperial response was predictable. They fortified their remaining outposts, concentrated their fleets, and waited for a major human assault that never came. Instead, their supply lines were cut one by one, their communication relays vanished, and their smaller bases disappeared into the night. "They don't think like us," complained Imperial High Commander Dan to his war council. "They refuse to fight properly." But that was exactly the point. Humanity had studied history's greatest guerrilla warriors, adapting their tactics to space warfare. They knew they couldn't match the Empire's full might in open battle, so they didn't try. On the Vengeance, Captain Bill watched as his crews prepared for another raid. The stolen Imperial technology had been invaluable, but humanity's greatest weapon was their understanding of unconventional warfare. "Multiple Imperial signatures detected," his sensor officer reported. "They're trying to trap us." Captain Bill smiled. The Empire's massive ships were designed for large-scale battles, not the hit-and-run tactics humans employed. Their rigid command structure couldn't adapt quickly enough to counter human strategies. "Launch the drones," he ordered. Thousands of small, automated craft erupted from the Vengeance's launch bays. Each one was basically a hyperdrive with guns attached, too small to be easily targeted, but numerous enough to overwhelm defenses. Another human innovation that the Empire hadn't expected. The Imperial ships, arranged in their standard combat formation, found themselves swarmed by targets too small and fast to track effectively. While they were distracted, the Vengeance struck from an impossible angle, using its gravity manipulators to briefly bend space itself. "Target locked," the weapons officer announced. "Ready to execute Protocol Ghost." Protocol Ghost was perhaps humanity's most terrifying innovation, combining teleportation technology with their gravity manipulators. The supply depot simply ceased to exist in its original location, scooped out of space to appear inside one of the Vengeance's massive cargo holds. The Imperial ships opened fire on the Vengeance's last known position, but the human carrier was already gone, slipping away through artificially created folds in space. By the time the Empire realized what had happened, they had lost another strategic position without firing a single effective shot. "Send the standard message," Captain Bill ordered as they prepared to jump to their next target. Throughout Imperial space, commanders received the same transmission. "Run. It was becoming a psychological weapon, destroying Imperial morale one mysterious raid at a time. Back in the Empire's capital, the War Council struggled to understand their enemy's strategy. The humans weren't trying to conquer territory or win great battles. They were systematically dismantling the Empire's infrastructure, stealing its resources, and demonstrating that nowhere was safe. They're not fighting a war, Imperial High Commander Dan finally realized. They're hunting us. The Empire had always relied on its superior numbers and technology, but against an enemy that refused to fight conventionally, that turned the vast distances of space into an advantage. Those strengths became weaknesses. Humanity's counteroffensive wasn't about winning battles, it was about proving a point. The galaxy was entering a new age, one where the old rules of warfare no longer applied. And humanity was writing the new rules, one vanished outpost at a time. In the Grand Hall of the Imperial Palace, silence fell as the latest battle reports arrived. Imperial Research Director Peter, his scaled hands trembling, presented his findings to the assembled High Council. What they learned would change their understanding of their human enemies forever. "We've been studying the wrong thing," he began. "It's not their technology we should have focused on. It's their homeworld." The holographic display showed Earth in all its violent glory. Massive storms, active volcanoes, shifting tectonic plates, and extreme temperature variations that would kill most species in the Empire. "Earth is what we classify as a death world," Peter explained. "The gravity is 1.3 times higher than our standard. The atmospheric pressure would crush most species. Their oceans are filled with corrosive salt water. And yet, humans evolved there." The council members shifted uncomfortably as more data appeared. Humans could survive in temperatures that would freeze or cook most species. They could keep moving with broken bones. They could recover from injuries that would kill any Imperial citizen. "They don't just survive on their death world," Peter continued. "They thrive on it. Their bodies can repair massive damage. They can run for hours without stopping. They can survive weeks without food." A new image appeared, a human soldier lifting weight twice their body mass. "Their muscles are dense enough to function in gravity that would cripple our strongest warriors. And their endurance, it's beyond anything we've seen." The council watched footage of human combat troops operating in environments that would require full environmental suits for any Imperial soldier. Extreme cold, searing heat, toxic atmospheres. Humans adapted to them all. "But the most terrifying thing," Peter said, his voice dropping, "is their minds. Their brains evolved to survive constant threats. They can process combat situations faster than our best combat computers. They see patterns in chaos that our analysts miss. And they never, ever stop learning." The display showed human children playing war games, training their combat instincts from an early age. It showed their entertainment, endless simulations of conflict and survival that other species would consider nightmarish. "Their entire civilization is built on overcoming challenges that would destroy most species," Peter explained. "Every human is a potential warrior because their world never gave them a choice. They had to become strong or die." One council member stood up. "Surely their technology level still puts them at a disadvantage." Peter laughed bitterly. "Their primitive technology is precisely what makes them so dangerous. They had to solve problems without the advanced materials we take for granted. Their solutions are brutal, efficient, and incredibly resilient." The display showed human weapons, simple in design but devastating in effect. Their projectile weapons, considered primitive by Imperial standards, could still kill through most energy shields. Their armor, while basic, could be repaired with minimal resources. "We made another crucial mistake," Peter continued. "We assumed their lack of psychic abilities was a weakness, but their minds evolved different defenses. They're naturally resistant to our psychic attacks because their brains are constantly ready for threats. They live in a permanent state of adaptable awareness that our species lost eons ago." The council chamber erupted in worried murmurs as the implications became clear. The Empire hadn't just underestimated human technology. They'd fundamentally misunderstood the species itself. Every environment we send them into, Peter concluded, every challenge we present, they adapt to it. They're not just fighting us, they're getting stronger. Our standard tactics make them more dangerous. Our technology, when captured, makes them more lethal. The final images showed human soldiers training in captured Imperial facilities, mastering alien technology with frightening speed. They weren't just learning to use it. They were improving it, making it more efficient, more deadly. We're not fighting a primitive species, Peter said quietly. We're fighting the ultimate survivors. And the more we fight them, the stronger they become. The council sat in stunned silence. The Empire had ruled through superior technology and evolutionary advantages, but they now faced a species that had evolved in conditions that would kill most Imperial citizens instantly, a species that saw war not as an emergency but as a natural state of existence. The brutal truth was clear. Humanity wasn't just another enemy to be conquered. They were what the Empire had always feared, a species that thrived on conflict itself. The Imperial planet Cracker, World's End, moved into position above the human colony on Mars, its massive form blocking out the distant sun. Grand Admiral Joe, commander of the Empire's last resort weapons, gave the order that would demonstrate the Empire's ultimate power. "Begin charging the main cannon," he commanded. "Let's show these humans what real terror looks like." The massive weapon began to power up, its energy readings climbing to civilization-ending levels. The Empire had used planet crackers only twice before in its long history. Both times, the mere demonstration had been enough to force immediate surrender. But as the weapon reached full charge, something unexpected happened. Hundreds of small objects detached from Mars's surface, rising toward the Imperial fleet like a swarm of angry insects. Nuclear weapons, the sensor officer screamed. Thousands of them. The humans had anticipated this move. Instead of running or surrendering, they had prepared a counter that even the Empire's mighty planet crackers couldn't ignore. One nuclear detonation wouldn't breach their shields, but thousands. That was another matter entirely. "Impossible," Grand Admiral Joe whispered. "The radiation would kill them too." But the humans had evolved on a world that was already naturally radioactive. Their bodies could handle radiation levels that would kill most species. They had lived through their own nuclear wars and survived. This was just another day for them. "Sir, we're detecting more launches from Earth's moon." The tactical officer's voice cracked. "And from Earth itself." The Empire had brought their ultimate weapons to bear, only to discover that humanity had far more practice with planet-killing armaments. While the Empire had built 3 planet crackers, humanity had built enough nuclear weapons to destroy their own solar system several times over. "All ships, emergency jump," Grand Admiral Joe ordered, but it was too late. The first wave of nuclear detonations created an electromagnetic pulse that disabled half the Imperial fleet's systems. The second wave breached their weakened shields. The third wave began destroying ships outright. As the Empire's mighty fleet crumbled, more surprises emerged. Hidden human bases on Jupiter's moons revealed massive gravitational weapons, technology the Empire thought impossible for their level of development. These weapons began literally tearing Imperial ships apart at the atomic level. "How?" Grand Admiral Joe demanded as his flagship shuddered under the assault. "How did they build all this without us knowing?" The answer was simple. Humans had been preparing for this exact scenario since they first discovered they weren't alone in the universe. Every crashed alien ship, every piece of recovered technology, had been studied and improved upon with one goal: survival at any cost. From Earth's surface, General Mike watched the space battle through advanced sensors. "Launch the Doomsday Protocol," he ordered calmly. Across the solar system, hidden human weapons activated. Not just nuclear weapons, but devices that could alter the fabric of space-time itself. The humans had taken the Empire's technology and pushed it to extremes that their creators had never dared to attempt. The Imperial fleet found itself trapped in a web of artificial black holes. their mighty ships being torn apart by forces they barely understood. The humans hadn't just matched the Empire's planet-killing capability. They had exceeded it. "Send the message," General Mike commanded. On every Imperial frequency in every known alien language, the same transmission played. "We survived our own attempts to destroy ourselves. What makes you think you can do better?" The remaining Imperial ships retreated in panic, leaving their mighty planet crackers drifting and powerless in space. The Empire had brought their ultimate weapons to humanity's doorstep, only to discover that humans had far more experience with the art of mass destruction. Back in the Imperial capital, the news of the defeat spread quickly. Several core worlds, seeing the Empire's mightiest weapons fail, began declaring their independence. The Empire's military command structure, already strained by human guerrilla tactics, began to splinter. The Empire had made their final mistake. They had assumed that their planet-destroying weapons would terrify humanity into submission. Instead, they had given humans an excuse to reveal their own doomsday arsenal, one built by a species that had lived under the shadow of mutual assured destruction for centuries. The age of Imperial dominance was ending, not with a dignified surrender, but with the humiliating realization that they had never truly been the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The Grand Council chamber of the Imperial Palace fell silent as the human delegation walked in. They didn't wear elaborate uniforms or carry ceremonial weapons like the Empire's officials. Instead, they wore simple black suits, their only adornments being small pins showing Earth's flag. General Mike led the human delegation, his weathered face showing neither triumph nor anger. Behind him walked Admiral Bill and Director James of Earth's Strategic Command. They carried with them something that terrified the Imperial Council more than any weapon: a datapad containing humanity's terms. "Let's skip the formalities," General Mike said, his voice echoing in the silent chamber. "We both know why we're here." High Chancellor Adam, leader of what remained of the Empire, tried to maintain his dignity despite the situation. 3 months of warfare had shattered the Empire's military might and fractured its control over its subject worlds. Now, the species they had once dismissed as primitives stood before them, dictating terms. "Your terms will be considered," Chancellor Adam began, but General Mike cut him off. "No, they will be accepted," he stated flatly. "Because we're not here to negotiate. We're here to explain how things will be from now on." The datapad projected its contents for all to see. The terms were surprisingly simple: immediate independence for all enslaved species, free travel through all former Imperial space, and complete sharing of technological knowledge. "This isn't a peace treaty," Admiral Bill explained. "It's a warning. Humanity has no interest in ruling an empire. We've studied history too well to make that mistake. But we will ensure that no species ever threatens another with extinction again." The Imperial Council watched in shock as the next images appeared. Hundreds of human warships, now stationed near every major Imperial world. Not as conquerors, but as guardians of the new peace. "Your empire lasted 10,000 years," Director James said, "because you prevented other species from reaching their potential. That ends today." What followed was not a negotiation, but a transformation. The humans laid out their vision for a new galactic order, one where advancement was encouraged, not suppressed, where species worked together not out of fear, but out of mutual benefit. "You don't understand," one council member protested. "Without the Empire's control, there will be chaos." General Mike smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. "Chaos is where humanity thrives. We evolved in chaos. We built civilizations in chaos. We reached the stars through chaos. Order through rigid control is an illusion. True stability comes from adaptation and cooperation." The terms included something unexpected: offers of human assistance in rebuilding, in advancing technology, in learning to defend against genuine threats. It wasn't just a peace treaty. It was a complete reimagining of galactic civilization. "Your empire tried to maintain peace through force," Admiral Bill explained. We maintain peace by being so terrifying in war that peace becomes the obviously better option. The Imperial Council realized they had no choice. Their mighty fleets were in ruins, their weapon worlds captured, their subject species in rebellion. But more than that, they recognized a fundamental truth. Humanity wasn't interested in revenge or dominion. "Sign the agreement," General Mike said, "and we'll help you transition to a new role, not as rulers, but as equals in a larger community." Chancellor Adam looked at his fellow council members, saw the resignation in their eyes, and did something no imperial leader had done in 10,000 years. He admitted defeat. His signature on the document marked the end of an era. As the human delegation prepared to leave, General Mike turned back one last time. "Remember this day," he said, "not as the day your empire fell, but as the day you learned there are better ways to reach the stars than through conquest." The humans departed as simply as they had arrived, leaving behind a changed galaxy. The empire that had ruled for 10 millennia had been humbled not just by human weapons, but by human ideas. The species they had dismissed as primitives had taught them the most important lesson of all. True power comes not from controlling others, but from helping them grow. In the years that followed, the galaxy would transform. Former slave species would reach the stars on their own terms, guided but not controlled by human advisors. The Empire's worlds would learn to govern themselves, and humanity would watch, ready to prevent any new empire from rising from the ashes of the old. The age of empires was over. The age of cooperation had begun.